Welcome. Welcome to the Right Fit Marriage Show, your one stop for tips to help you succeed in your marriage. Hello, Tosi. You are the very first listener to come in this evening. Welcome. How was your day? I see somebody else has joined as well. I'm going to wait for a third person to join, and then there'll be three of us, and we'll start right off. Wow. Osezua Stephanie Mubio, thank you as well for joining the show. Welcome. How was your day? I trust you did pretty well. Today, we're going to look at a very interesting topic. Nneka, welcome. Wow, Onome. So we'll just go on straight and then start, because already I can see that 4 of you are listening to me. Today, we're going to look at something very interesting, a topic I consider really interesting. Interesting in the sense that it happens in every marriage, and yet most people are not prepared for it. What is this interesting thing that happens in marriage which most people are not prepared for? Imwetianosa, welcome. Temitokwe, welcome as well. I hope I got your name right. Thank you for joining the show. So let's go straight quickly. What is this interesting thing that happens in marriage which most people are not prepared for? Well, it is conflict. Conflict between husband and wife. Most people are not prepared for it. A man and woman meet one another. They court for a couple of years, maybe a couple of months, and then they decide that they want to spend the rest of their lives together. They spend weeks, maybe months, sometimes even a year. They spend it preparing for their wedding ceremony, a wedding ceremony that they're going to remember for life. They're very excited. They get married and they begin to live together. Before I go on, let me ask you to, share this post and invite your friends as well to listen to the show tonight, because I think they also will find it very interesting. Njideka and Moji and Winnie, thank you for joining the show. So, this man and woman, they get married and they begin to live together. Within a few months of living together, sometimes even a few days of living together, they begin to get on each other's nerves. They discover things about themselves that they did not know was there before. Or rather, the things were there before, but they didn't notice it because, you see, they were not living together 24/7. When you're not living together 24/7, there are many things that you will not notice. So when this couple now begin to live together, they discover things about themselves that they didn't know was there before. Sometimes they begin to wonder, have I made a mistake? What is happening between them is that they are having conflict. Conflict, according to the dictionary, is a disagreement between people resulting from actual or perceived differences or incompatibilities. So here are two people who are looking at a particular situation, and what they're seeing in that situation is different. That is the reason usually why there is conflict. Imwetianosa, you asked a question. You said, outside of psychology and counseling, what is the godly way of resolving such a problem or conflict? All right, let's just go on first and listen to what I have to share, because what I'm sharing is not so much psychology or counseling. It's just practical ways, day-to-day things that we can do. Now, what many people don't realize is that conflict in marriage is normal. I'll say that again. Conflict in marriage is normal. There is nothing, strange. It's not anything to be frightened of. It's just regular. When you have two people, or three people, or a group of people living together, conflict is bound to happen. Conflict happens because when they're looking at a situation or when they're experiencing a situation, they see it differently. Now, I'm going to share an illustration with you this evening. And that illustration is going to help you to understand, the way by which conflict should be handled. Meanwhile, if Naya, Fisayo, Mazi, and Augustina, thank you as well for joining the show. Like I said before, conflict is normal. It's a part and parcel of life. Conflict happens between a husband and wife because they think differently about an issue that is important to them. And I'm going to use an illustration to share with you, what conflict is and also the tips that you can use, So I'm going to tell you the story of a couple. Tunde is the husband's name and Bola is the name of the wife. Both of them have a child that is of school age. Both of them agree that that child should begin school. Well, Bola has an opinion about the type of school that the child should go to. Tunde too has an opinion about the school the child should go to, but he's more concerned about how much it will cost them to send that child to the school. So let's picture Tunde and Bola having a conversation. And this is the way that the conversation went. Bola has looked already at some schools and she has narrowed down those options to 2 schools. There is a particular one that she thinks is the best fit for their child. And so she talks to her husband and she puts her idea forward. She shows him the research she has made, the values that the schools are having, and the reason why she's suggesting that school. So Tunde looks at the information that Bola has given to him, and even though he's seeing all the good qualities that Bola has highlighted, what really catches his attention is the amount of money that he has to pay as school fees, or that they, himself and Bola as parents, have to pay as school fees. And once his eyes catch that school fees, he said to his wife, "Oh no, our daughter can't go to this school." So Bola is surprised and said, "This school is a good school now. I spoke with my friend and she has a good testimony about the school. In fact, Mrs. So and so in our church too. Her child goes to that school. I've spoken to her. She says the school is a good school." And then her husband Tunde replies and says, "No, our daughter can't go to that school. The fees are beyond what we can afford now." Bola begins to get upset and she says, "How can you say that we can't afford it? The education of our daughter is important. We have to lay the right foundation for her." And then, I'm sure I don't need to continue this conversation. You can just begin to imagine in your mind the way that conversation continued. Perhaps in that conversation that day, Tunde and Bola went quiet. Each of them moved into their own corner, angry with one another. Conflict has come up. They are looking at the same situation, but they are seeing things differently. And yet, as a couple, they have a decision to make. Their child is about to start school. They have to decide which school that child is going to go. What is happening in this situation that I just described? Tunde, on the one hand, thinks that the amount of money to be paid as school fees is important. Bola, on the other hand, thinks that the quality of school that their daughter will attend is important. The question is this: are those two issues not important? Of course they are. How much you're going to pay as fees is important because it has to be an amount you can afford. At the same time, the quality of the school has also got to be good, because you don't just want to send your child to school. You want your child to go to a place where you can trust that you will get value education. So, what is happening here between Tunde and Bola? Conflict is happening. Conflict is happening between them because Tunde and Bola are placing priority on different things. The conflict is happening because the priority that Tunde places on the amount to be paid as fees is higher than the priority that he places on the quality of schools. Not because he doesn't want a good school for his daughter, but you see, he wants a good school that is within what their budget can afford. And there is nothing wrong with that. Now, does it mean that Bola does not value the budget that she and her husband have made? Of course, she values it. It's just that for her, the priority she places on the value of the education, the quality of the education that they should give their daughter, is higher than the priority that she places on the amounts that they have to pay as school fees. And so conflict has come up between them. Conflict has come up between them not because they are bad people, not because, one person doesn't want good and the other person wants good. The only reason that this conflict has come up between them is because two of them are looking at the same situation and they're seeing different things. Bola is seeing a good quality school. Tunde is seeing a school that is perhaps beyond the means that he knows that they have. So, this scenario that I've just given you, we've just talked about Tunde and Bola now, who are trying to make a decision about the school that their daughter will go. But the truth is that between many couples, in many homes, this scenario is repeated with different situations. Sometimes it is to do with the way they are relating with in-laws. Sometimes it is to do with their careers. Sometimes it is to do with the way they worship or where they worship. Sometimes it is even to do with something as simple as who is to take the car out. Conflict comes up in almost all aspects of a couple's life together. What is important to note is that the conflict arises between husband and wife because both of them feel differently about issues that are very important to them. I see that Noye and Ijoma and Omoyemi and Berry have joined us. Welcome to the show. If you're just joining us, this is the Right Fit Marriage Show, your one stop for tips to help you to succeed in marriage. So now that we have seen that conflict happens, and that conflict is normal, and that conflict is probably an everyday affair between a husband and wife, how should a husband and wife handle conflict when it happens? That's what we are going to look at next. And we're still going to use Tunde and Bola as our illustration. First of all, when conflict comes up between a husband and a wife, they need to remember, both of them need to remind each other that they are a team. They are a team. When you and your husband, or you and your wife, when you are a team together, it means that you have a common goal. Now, you have a common goal, you have a common destination. You may have different ideas about how the goal should be achieved. Like we saw in the case of Tunde and Bola, they want their child to be educated. They want their child to start school. They want their child to go to a good school. That is their goal. But right now, they're seeing it differently. Bola is looking at one school, and Tunde is thinking, can we afford that school? In the process of discussing the ideas that you have about in the process of discussing how the ideas that you have about achieving your goal will be achieved, A husband and wife may step on each other's toes, but does it mean that you have stopped being a team because you are stepping on each other's toes? Of course not. You are still a team. So when conflict happens between you and your spouse, the first thing to do is to remind yourself and remind your spouse as well that both of you are one team. Both of you are in one team. Both of you are working towards the same goal. It's just that perhaps the way that you think the goal should be achieved is different. So, what would I advise Tunde to do? Or Bola, or even you, if you are having such a situation between you and your husband and wife. What I'll suggest, for example, is that you can just reach out, touch your husband or wife by the hand, or draw them close to you and say, I know that you think differently about this from me, but really and truly, you and I, we are working together towards the same goal. When you say something like that, and you reach out for your spouse and draw them to yourself, what does that do? It douses the tension. It reminds the two of you that you have a decision to make together. It calms you down. It makes you to refocus on the issues that are involved and to attend to them and then come to a mutually accepted and a mutually beneficial situation. When you have calmed down the situation in this way, then you have positioned yourself to put forward your own ideas. That's not what we do normally. What we do normally is we try to prove that our point is right. And you can imagine what will happen when the husband is trying to prove that he is right and the wife also too is trying to prove that he is right. That is what makes the conflict to escalate. Now, let's get back to Tunde and Bola and the question of which school their daughter will go. So, in that situation, this is what Tunde can do. He can call his wife and draw her close and say, I know that the school that you are recommending is a good school. And in fact, I appreciate the effort you have made to locate a school with such wonderful qualities. I see that you have given a lot of thought to what our daughter needs. This school will be a good school for our daughter. But you know what our income is. You also know what our expense plan is. And if our daughter is to go to this school, it will take a huge chunk out of our budget. How will we manage it? By talking in this way, Tunde has communicated to Bola that the fees to be paid is important to him, but at the same time, he's respecting the view that Bola has that the quality of school is also important. Bola too can then look at him, hold his hand and say, I know you are very concerned. Money is tight for us and you don't want us to overextend ourselves. I do understand that. But I'm thinking that at this stage of our daughter's life, it's a very important stage. And the quality of the school that she goes to is really key. I chose this school because I'm thinking that if we look at our budget again, we may be able to find a way, reorganize our budget and accommodate the fees. Again, by acting this way, what Bola has done is that she has communicated to her husband, Tunde, that she values the priority that Tunde places on the budget considerations, and she's helping him also to appreciate the value that she places on the quality of the school. When a husband and wife approach a situation of conflict in this matter, tempers are calmed and a conducive environment is created between them. So they are able to sit down in a collaborative way, discuss the issue, and then come to a decision. Because they have not attacked each other, because they are not digging their feet into the ground. They are actually considering the other person's perspective, and they are also showing the other person that they are considering their perspective. So both of them feel listened to, both of them feel heard, And that is how conflict should be handled. Like I said earlier, conflict is normal. It's nothing to be afraid of. What is important is learning how to handle the conflict. On Saturday, the last Saturday of January, I'm going to be hosting a one-day course right here on Facebook, where I will show participants how they can communicate with their spouse on the issues that come up between them without quarreling or getting upset with one another. If you want more information about this course, just look at the post that is attached to this broadcast and you will see it there. I see so many more people have joined us. Uduma, thank you for joining. Olivia, Amara, thank you. Ozioma, Oma Usi, thank you. Emekalu and Enne, okay, yes, thank you for joining. Noye, thank you. Ijoma, thank you as well for joining the show. Thank you everyone for joining the show today. To round up this episode of the Right Fit Marriage Show, here is the marriage quote for today. The marriage quote for today. We have found that success or failure of a marriage depends not on whether there is conflict, but how conflict is handled when it occurs. I'll take it again. We have found that the success or failure of a marriage, it depends not on whether there is conflict, but on how conflict is handled when it occurs. The Gottman Laboratory Studies is the source of this quote. The reality is that conflict is part and parcel of life. It happens wherever you have a community of people living. So, avoiding conflict is not the solution. Learning how to handle conflict is the way forward. And I have already given an illustration to you of how conflict can be handled between a husband and wife. So you can listen again to the replay, or, ask me questions about it in the comment box and I will do so. We have spent more than the 15 minutes that this broadcast should be today, so I'm going to round up very quickly. Thank you again, everyone, for joining the show. Thank you so very much. Yes, Fina, avoiding conflict is not the solution. Learning how to confront and handle conflicts effectively is the way forward. So, I'll sign out here. Please join me again next Thursday evening, the same time, 7 p.m., for another edition of the Right Fit Marriage Show. Until then, handle your conflicts right. Don't run away from them. Conflicts are normal. Handling them is what is important. Have a restful evening.